I hope your day is full of mistletoe and holly and wreaths and trees and lights and the roar of a fire and eggnog and gingerbread people. I was going to say men, but you got to be inclusive. It's 2024, baby. Gingerbread people, gingerbread bitches, gingerbread days. What's up, everyone? We have an amazing episode of Shank for you this week with Dan Donohue. But before we get into this week's episode of Shank with Dan, there's just one thing I want to tell you about, and that's Oh Yeah socks. Oh yeah. If you're like me, you love putting on your socks in the morning. It's your favorite part of the day. If you're like me, you sleep in your socks. And when it comes time to decide which pair of socks to wear, I always reach for my Oh Yeah socks. They have amazing designs, whether you're into gnomes or blueberries or skateboarding or hamburgers, there's a pair of socks for you. And they have Bob Ross socks, Mr. Rogers socks. They have slippers. My favorite pair are the alligator slippers, and they also have flamingo slippers. They make amazing gifts, and it's an easy way to support the podcast. Plus, you get 10% off with discount code SARA, SARA 10 for 10% off unique sock and slipper designs. And for more bonus content, patreon.com/Sara Weinshenk. I'm going to be doing some ad-free mini podcasts / vlogs. I'm definitely going to be doing at least 2 a month. So look out for that, and patreon.com/Sara Weinshenk. And let's do it. Let's get into this week's episode of Shank with the one, the only comedian, Dan Donohue. Guys, here it is. Okay, so what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Shank. I'm Sara Weinshenk, and today's guest is the one, the only, Dan Donohue.
How are you?
I'm good. So I don't know anything about you at all.
You don't have to.
I just see you on my Instagram, and your videos are very funny.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just explain everything about me real quick? Okay,
yeah,
so
let's sum it up.
I grew up South Central LA. No,
no. I was like, I didn't realize he was so hard.
I don't think anyone would expect that at all. No, I grew up in Massachusetts.
Okay.
First of all, because this is a Christmas episode, we should start off getting to know each other. And with the Christmas thing, were you a big Christmas family?
Yes. Were
big
you guys?
Christmas family. Vaguely.
What does that mean?
It means my mom loves giving gifts.
Okay.
She's like really like big into it, to a point where it makes you feel uncomfortable. That's how much my mom loves giving gifts.
What do you mean? Like
a
lot of gifts?
It built a level of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It built like a neuroses in me, how good my mom was at giving gifts. And she would just go so over the top for Christmas every year.
Yeah.
That it turned me off of gifts as I grew up. And now I'm not really into gifts.
Because it feels excessive.
It can too. And you know what's so funny? Now I do that to friends.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, is that enough? Is that enough? Should I just I guess I should just add another candle.
Do you love me now?
Yeah. Like, what is that? And it's like, you feel like it's enough, but then sometimes you add one more thing and it's the thing that pushes it over the edge.
So I had a buddy, and he had a broken window in his car. Like someone smashed and grabbed him. And so like I organized this thing where like I wanted to fix the window without him knowing about it, just so like whatever. So he would like come to his car and the window was fixed. So like I organized it, and he figured out it was me. I'm not sure yet, and it's funny that I'm talking about this on a podcast before I've really talked to him about it in any way. I think it made him uncomfortable, and I'm going to have to talk to him about it.
Wait, why?
I think that it might have been too much.
That would be the nicest gift ever.
I felt like as I was doing it, I was like, this is awesome. And then after, I was like, maybe that was too much. You know what I mean?
Like you had remorse for giving too hard?
Not even remorse, just like I hope I didn't make him feel uncomfortable by the level of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I feel uncomfortable when people do anything for me. I'm like, chill out. What do you have a crush on me or something? Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, my mom was really into Christmas, but not religious or anything like that.
Right. So there's no like baby Jesus at your house.
We had, you know what? She had this this like group of I don't know why this was in my house, so don't come after me. It was my parents who put this up. It was 4 I'll just say non-white Santas. So it was like this stuffed, this stuffed kind of like a teddy bear thing, but instead it was 4, like there was a dark complexion Santa, and then there was maybe a Cuban Santa. Like it was just I swear to God. Like
all the different shades of Santa?
All the different shades, but not a white one. So
you
my
didn't
parents
have any white Santas?
No.
So inclusive at the Donahue.
They were ahead of their time.
Black Santas?
No, I think this is something you probably can't even pull up online. First of all, look at all these white Santas when it says ethnic Santa. Do you see the disgusting whitewashing of Santa? This is ethnic Santas. Look at that blue-eyed. That's just a Temu hand puppet. This is gross what they do to Santa.
So you guys had different ethnicity Santa?
Yeah, my mom just loved having that out there. Yeah.
What else did she have?
We had like a little manger, but it was so funny because we didn't know religion in the household really. So I was just like, this is creepy.
Yeah, we had no baby Jesus.
No baby Jesus.
We had like the Muppets. There was like the Muppets and they were dressed up in Christmas outfits and they were like stuffed animals.
Yeah.
And for some reason we had those.
You know what I think it was? I think you weren't in church either.
Well, I went to Catholic school, but my parents were like, you can just take what you want from it. Because my dad was a Jew and my mom's Catholic.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, dad was a Jew, mom was Catholic, and then you did, so it was kind of like Christmas, but Muppet Christmas.
Yeah, Muppet Christmas and like Jesus Christmas.
Right. So no real religion.
No,
like
not
deeply
really.
Good, interesting. Yeah, my parents were both like New England Catholics, but you can only beat a kid so many times until they stop following your religion.
Yeah,
and that's what happened to them.
Okay. So did you grow up Catholic?
No, because both of them, like my dad especially, went to Catholic school. And you know how you hear about nuns like hitting kids with rulers? My dad would hear stories about that and be like, that's so funny because our nuns would just punch us in the face.
No.
Yeah. He has this great story, which, when I say great story, I mean, it's a terrible thing that happened that he thought was a great story.
Yeah.
But he was like, this kid like learned or was like saying the word shit a bunch and it was just getting huge laughs or whatever. So in like, it might've been 4th or 5th grade, like he tells a story where his friend, like the nun turned around and he said shit and the whole class like goes, and the nun just like grabs him, brings him in the closet. And my dad goes, we turned around because she didn't close the door. She was like kneeing and elbow, like Muay Thai style. Yeah. Like somehow this nun went to like Bangkok and just learned how to, and she was like kneeing him in the stomach and he came back with like a bloody face and she made him finish the like lesson or whatever. And I think after that, my dad was like, Santa's enough.
Yeah, Santa is enough.
Yeah.
Because I had nuns, but they didn't beat us. I think that they'd grown out of that.
God, yeah.
Because it was the 90s. I feel like that was more of like an 80s thing.
It was neon and getting hit by a nun.
Yeah.
That was the 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up here.
In Los Angeles?
In the Valley. I'm a Valley girl, yeah.
I love the Valley. What part of the Valley?
Encino.
I love Encino. Encino's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had a good childhood there?
Yeah, I had a good childhood there.
That's
My
great.
parents still live there.
I lived in Reseda when I first moved out here.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Reseda does not fuck around.
No, I got my car broken into a couple times there, but for the most part, it was pretty okay, except that it was so far away. You're a dipshit when you move to a new city, especially like I had lived in Boston, but only on a friend's couch for a year.
Right.
So when I moved out here, like I didn't know anything about buying an apartment. So my cousin was just like, oh, I have a place for you to stay. It's in Reseda. And I'm so stupid. I'm just like, yeah, Reseda, that's like the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And then I get there and I go to the first open mic I go to, it's like an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back. And I'm just doing that for my first like 4 months living here until I moved. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Valley. I'm a Valley girl in my heart. I grew up in a lot of malls.
What does that mean to you, like a Valley girl? What's the culture there?
The culture is as if. Lots of likes, lots of oh my gods.
You don't have the vocal fry though.
I do.
You
People
do.
in the comments will tell you otherwise.
Like, yes, she fucking does.
Yes, she does. How dare you tell her that she doesn't have the vocal?
You have no idea how stupid she sounds all the time.
That's the men in the comments will say otherwise. I do have the vocal fry. Just kind of like classic 80s Valley girl.
What's now with Valley girl, and I don't mean to insult your culture in any way, is part of the pride at least acting stupid? Is there like a pride in Valley? Because there seems to be
like
this...
your value system's different than other people's value systems. Right? So, so maybe on some level it is more superficial, because you're growing up in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So you're around LA, but you're not in LA.
Yeah.
So you feel like the pressure of wanting to be like in that scene, because people talk shit on the Valley all the time.
All the time, which is completely unwarranted.
It's nice. There's lots of nice parts of it. There's lots of people who talk shit on it that couldn't afford to buy a house there.
Right.
So that's also crazy. Yeah, there's like a level. I think we sound more stupid than we are.
Interesting.
Just because of the the way that we talk.
The way you talk, and I feel like the word "what" is
What?
used. Yeah, that.
What? Yeah.
That's hard for me to get over, because when you say something and the response is either "what" or worse, "what happened," that to me, I'm just like, I can't even continue this conversation.
Right.
Do you want me to like I don't know if you want me to rephrase it or if you didn't hear what I said. It's very difficult for me.
Do you ever say what, and then after you say what, it sinks in what the other person said? Like in the time that you said what, the question registered, and then you're like, oh, actually, I don't even need for you to chime in and say it again. It just
I cut them off.
It's a delay.
I'll cut them off as soon as they start to explain, and I go, that was public school, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's how that worked. But yeah, when I moved to Reseda, I got this. I completely, and now I can start saying this, which is great. I lied my way into a job at a physical therapy clinic, basically, where I didn't lie about my credentials. Well, I actually did lie about let me go back. I had run track in college, so I'm looking for a job that's kind of like at a gym or whatever, and this job is open at this physical therapy clinic. So I go in for the interview, and the guy's like, so what's your experience? And I was like, oh, well, I worked alongside my college's physical therapy department while I was running track. Completely
lie.
I stopped running track sophomore year because I wasn't running well, but I was like, yeah, so I worked aside there, and I'm like certified in this and this and this. But I gabbed the guy into giving me the job on pure bro science, on pure like, yeah, I'm trying to, I think people, they don't address kyphosis or hyperlordosis or whatever. These are not words that I learned.
I don't even know what those words mean.
These are not words I learned working at a physical therapy clinic. They were words I learned lifting weights with the stupidest people you could ever imagine, but they know words like that.
Yeah.
And I just bro scienced my way into this job at this physical therapy clinic, and I worked there in Reseda. Like that was the job.
What did you have to do?
I was like, it's luckily pretty easy. Like all you do is you watch people do exercises, and you correct their form in ways, but these are not like athletes we're trying to get back on the court.
Right, it's like middle-aged women that sprain their ankle.
It's middle-aged women who sprain their ankle. It's guys who have never like had to touch their toes, who like blow their hamstring out playing like softball.
Yeah.
That's one thing have you ever had like a bad injury as an adult?
Knock on wood.
Good. That's good. That's lucky. Do you play like recreational sports at all? No. And that's why, because these dumbasses will because they played sports in high school,
they think they still got it.
They all think they still got it. So so many people who came in, it really made me scared about adult recreational sports, because these guys would come in and they'd be like, oh yeah, we were just having a field day at my job and we were playing softball, and I hit a ball that I think I could have gotten on base. So I sprint, and the brutality of the injuries these guys, it was like they came home from World War II.
No.
There'd be double hamstring tears from just trying to run for the first time in 20 years.
That is so fucked up, though.
It's so messed up.
It's so messed up. No, I feel like it would be humiliating, kind of, to have especially if it was from something stupid.
That's such a good point, because there's that moment where you're on the ground and you're like, am I okay? And you realize you're not. And the people
it's
from
not
work are
even
there.
worth it. It's not even worth it. It's not like you're getting paid to be there.
Oh
it's
God.
a fun recreational. After you push it too far, you get a little too competitive with your coworkers.
And then your life has changed. Your life has changed forever.
You have a pain in your knee now.
It's a year to fully heal a hamstring tear if you're lucky. Like to get all the way back to whatever. So these people, they were just trying to show off to a secretary they were trying to hook up with.
Yeah.
And now they're in the hospital.
That's so bad.
Doing something that, by the way, no one would be impressed by even if they did it.
Yeah.
That's what's so funny about it. Is let's say they made they got on base in softball. No one's like, God, I have to blow that guy now.
Yeah, wow.
Oh my God.
I don't know how he made it to second so fast.
Oh my God, Alex can run fast. I should
Yeah.
I mean, so it was a lot of people like that. So it was just watching them do their exercises, and then I would just do ultrasound, not like ultrasound, but like, you know, you would basically like electronic stim on people and shit like that. But it was really easy, but I just should not have been doing it.
Like you put those electrodes with those little pads on.
Yeah. And
TENS unit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you would, sometimes I would put it too high and people would be like, ah, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't know how to do this. But the boss, like eventually, because I was doing stand up, I would never tell him. I never told him I did stand up. And, he was eventually like, hey, are you thinking of going to like medical school? Because that's what that job is for.
Right.
You're supposed to like you're a PT aide. And he was like, are you thinking about going to medical school? And I was like, yeah, totally. And he's like, oh, because like, you know, you've missed the submission this year. And I was like, dang it.
No.
And then I eventually got fired, which rightfully so.
You got fired?
Oh, yeah. Well,
what'd you do? Did
I
they
just
know?
didn't go to medical school. He was just like, we can't have you just working here for no reason. It was just such an easy job. And I got like a membership to a gym for doing it.
That's so crazy.
It was so funny. Yeah.
So at that time you were working at physical therapy and then doing stand-up at night?
Doing stand-up at night, so it was an easy job to have because it's like pretty early, but not too early where you're like ruining your nights. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I used to be a nanny during the days, and that was fucked up, dude. But I was so tired after.
Oh, yeah.
I was like sleepwalking.
That kid's going into traffic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're, oh, whoops, sorry.
Yeah. Well, it was 3 kids.
Oh.
It was 3 boys, and the mom kept trying to make me. First, I was her personal assistant. Then she kind of like tried to sandwich in, oh, well, you could be my personal assistant, but also my babysitter.
That's her fault, by the way.
Right. Those are 2 different jobs, bitch.
It's like making your gardener watch your kids. It's that's not equivalent in any way.
It's not equivalent in any way. She was like, and by the way, he has a test tomorrow, so can you help him study? I'm like, now I'm a fucking tutor. It was like so many different jobs. And then I'd go do stand-up like so completely tired because I was just raising someone else's children.
Literally raising someone else's children. That's what's so funny about those jobs is like nannying jobs really range depending on how good the parents are.
Yeah.
Because there's nannies that are actually like nannies, so they just watch the kids, but then the parents parent them. And then there's nannies that are just like, no, you're that kid's mom.
Yeah.
For sure you're that kid's mom.
Yeah, I know. I babysat for this one family, and the mom was on another planet. She was like a Beverly Hills mom.
Oh, yeah.
And
are we talking plastic surgery? We're talking Xanax? What's going on?
She didn't have plastic surgery. She just had a lot of money and a lot of expectations for like what she wanted in her life. And she was a perfectionist. And she was always like telling her husband that he needed to work more. And she wasn't working. And like,
I love that.
She would like spend the day at Neiman Marcus. And then she would buy a bunch of shit and she would hide it in the car to hide it from her daughters because she didn't want them to know that she was shopping.
This will show my bracket of pay, but I've heard the word Neiman Marcus before. I don't know what it is.
It's like it's a department store.
Okay, so like Macy's, but for rich people.
Yeah, but okay. Macy's like it's like Nordstrom's on crack.
Got it. Yeah.
It's like I wouldn't go there. See, look, like that little balloon doll is $42,000.
Oh my God. Oh, this is profane.
Yeah.
Oh, that upsets me.
Yeah,
Good
no,
Lord.
It's very upsetting.
You wouldn't shop here even if you
were rich. You probably wouldn't shop there unless you had like maybe if you were getting married and you needed like a jacket or something.
I think rich people shop at we're like, oh, it's because they're so rich. It's like I think it's because they're all on pills. Yeah. So you put them in a place like this and you show them a $42,000 balloon animal and they're like, that's awesome.
That's so beautiful. Like we need that. So yeah, she would spend a lot of time at Neiman Marcus, and while I was babysitting her, Neiman Marcus had decided that they were going to get rid of their frozen yogurt store that was in the department store.
Oh my God.
And she was like besides herself. She started a petition on change.org and was like, you need to save the frozen yogurt store inside of Neiman Marcus.
On change.org.
It's
Good Lord.
It's like people who, it's actual real issues.
Yeah, you're trying to change like zoning, or you're trying to like help a family who's being like redlined away from a school district because of their race, and then it's like they don't have my favorite flavor.
They don't have the Neiman Marcus fucking petition. And I remember she came home with it. She's like, I really need you to sign this. It's we need to be able to have our yogurt while we shop.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's what she cared about.
It's so funny.
It was so crazy. It was like on another level. I remember I called my dad. I'm like, she says she wants me to sign this petition to save the frozen yogurt store inside Neiman's. He's like, whatever it is, just sign it. She's paying your bills. Did you sign it?
You
sign
it, right? Yeah. You're like, okay, I signed it. By the way, your daughter said her first words today. Yeah. I don't know if you care about that.
Yeah,
but...
no. And then she'd say, okay, so for dinner, we're going to have a grilled cheese and tomato soup. I think that's going to be really cute.
Oh, God.
And it was like,
I hate that.
Describing dinner as cute.
There's people who get in these patterns of speech, and I almost feel bad for them because at a certain level, you can't really, no one in the world can tell them, like, hey, the way you talk is so annoying.
It's so insane.
There was this woman I worked with who would always say, like, oh, this lives over here. Like these scissors live in this cup right here.
No.
And then, yeah, when you're hosting, you live at the stand. And like, yeah, I'm her coworker, but I want to just be like, listen, if you keep talking like this, no one is going to love you. Do you understand me?
So crazy.
Yeah, it's those sorts of things that people just, you can't separate them
and
from
same
it.
With, okay, so let's unpack this.
Oh, yeah.
Unpack this.
There was a job that I worked where you can get so battered by like corporate speak like that. It really does make you go like, I want to be feral in the woods because this is doing to our brains is not good.
No, it's not good
at all. It's brutal.
Yeah, and she was really the lady who I babysat for was really. She said, we don't say negative words. So we don't say don't. We don't say can't. We don't say no.
Right. That's good. That's actually really healthy for a kid to not learn words that form boundaries early on. That's good. That's really smart of that mom,
Instead
actually.
Instead of saying, don't close the door, can you say, door stays open? Door stays open.
You're kidding.
I know. That's how. And then she would talk really slow to me. Like you know how like teachers kind of talk down to you and they're like, please open your books to page 7. She'd be like, Sarah, when you're slicing the pears, can you do it in a motion like this? Like, and then her kid would like, we'd be at the mall and her kid would shit herself and she just gives it to me and is like, okay, can you go take care of that? And then I'm the one like changing the diapers and then I bring her back with like a bow on her hair and she's like, oh, she looks so cute.
Oh, yeah. These like sanitizing the human experience to this level. That's
it's
like
so crazy.
And it also turns you like, that's why you think of this kind of like fantasy world where you could live in where you don't have any problems anymore. Like a lot of people, when they imagine being rich, it's this life where those little things in life are smoothed out, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm getting in all these arguments with my significant other, but if I were rich, we would never argue. And it's like, that's just not something to strive for, I think, because you see people who actually do that and they're crazy.
They're so crazy.
And how could you not be? Because you're taking all the things that make you a person going like, I want that one and I don't want that one. It's like, that's not how
life works.
No. And then when something really fucked up happens, which it inevitably will, you're not prepared for it in any way.
All.
Yeah.
She used to have this like magnet on her refrigerator that said life doesn't have to be perfect to be good. Because she was like an insane perfectionist.
Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah.
And that really does ruin you. That's why it's good as a kid. Like, I think people kind of go too far with this mentality, but it's good to have like one completely inappropriate family member to expose you to not sexually towards you or anything.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Like my grandma would always talk about first of all, my grandma, I learned about abortion, I think, before I learned about sex because my grandma was so pro-abortion.
Okay.
She was like, it's the best thing. Like, well, women's lives get so much better and like the world gets so much. You look at the statistics and I was like, what's sex? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it was good because she was just a person who was not fettered by like constraints of normal conversation. She would, and she's still alive and she's still so smart and so cool. But she would just be like to talk about murder. She would talk about politics and how much she hated George Bush and stuff. If all of my family members were like her, I think that'd be bad. But having one person, it's just good because it gives you a little bit of
an edge,
substance, a little bit of an edge.
Yeah. Well, my dad is crazy. My dad, like his driving, he'll be like, "Cocksucker, motherfucker, you cut me off," and it's like we'd be like 7 in the car, like my mom would be like, please don't talk like that, Steve. He can't contain it
I'm gonna be honest with you. I do that sometimes
in the car.
And when my girlfriend's in the car with me, and she's so like, obviously it'll just be quick. Like, someone will cut me off, and be like, fucking idiot.
I
like,
do that too now.
Stupid piece of shit. And then my girlfriend, she said this, and it's so funny. She'd be like, is that good for your blood pressure? And I'm like, all right, good point.
Kind of like a rhetorical question.
Kind of a rhetorical question. Yeah, she just leaves it on the table. You know what I mean? Do you think that's good for your blood pressure?
That's so funny. Yeah, no, my dad's crazy and cusses all the time.
Yeah, I found I grew up in a place where there's a lot of like very, very rich families, like
in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, there's like,
are there like American flags outside, and the houses are like white with big lawns? That's what I'm picturing.
Yes, you're in Cape Cod area and stuff. Yeah. You're completely right. And some where I'm from like sort of a like vaguely vacation town. So it's a lot of people's like second houses are where I lived, like grew up, and the richest families always had, not to say it's like, you know, so tough to be rich or whatever, but I think it is a sentiment of like, yeah, you can go too far in just thinking about making money and not the other stuff in life.
Yeah.
Like the pill addictions, the family unit just completely breaks apart and shit. It's like this old money weirdness.
Yeah, because I went to college in Orange County at Chapman, and there was a lot of dumb kids who went there who got to go to the school because their parents were really wealthy.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, well, my dad donated the wing, so that's how I got in. And then that same girl would like disappear for like 6 months, and then she'd come back and she'd have like a new nose, and like she'd be sober now.
Yeah,
because she was like addicted to pills.
Right.
And like that was like a really common thing at my college. People would disappear, they'd go to rehab for pills, or they would come back and look completely different. Like their tits would be huge. Like they would, and it was crazy. They all were addicted to pills, and they all were getting plastic surgery, and they were young. I mean, like 18 to 22.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that does happen, and it is really funny. I wonder if. Do you think the plastic surgery helps reinforce the sobriety? You know what I mean? Do you think it's
you don't need to get drunk to pretend like your nose is better than it is?
Yeah, now I have huge tits. What am I doing? Yeah. I can
everything. I don't need Xanax now that I
can have a soda.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is in Reseda. When I would do physical therapy, there was a rehab place where people would come into the physical therapy clinic. They would just get free it was like a really high end rehab place, so everything was included. So they get this gym membership, and they would get like whatever physical therapy they needed along with their sobriety. And there was this guy who came from like this insane family money, and he got sober. But it was one of those people. Sobriety is like great and excellent, and sometimes when people get sober, the drug habit like moves into another part of their life. And for him, it was really interesting because you've seen that with like smoking or maybe an unhealthy relationship or extreme sports. His was he would like lift weights until he tore his muscles. It was insane. Like he was.
I'm fine.
Yeah, truly, just like, and he would come into the physical therapy clinic, and the dude who ran the clinic was so pissed at this guy because the dude who ran the clinic really believed in like the human body and the healing of medicine. He would come in, and the guy who ran the clinic was like, all right, you got to take like a week off or like a month off. And the guy would be like, I'm lifting tomorrow. I have to lift tomorrow. And it's like,
the addiction just transfers.
And what do you do? Like, it's
like
so
whack-a-mole.
tough. Yeah, it's like whack-a-mole. Yeah.
Yeah, because I dated an addict, and he had been sober for like 2 years when we started dating, and then the crypto thing happened.
Oh no!
And he went so hard into with NFTs that it ruined our relationship. I was like, I can't pretend like I care about this frog that you just spent $30,000 on.
And when you bring a woman to the end of her ability to pretend to care about something, you've done something horribly wrong.
Because it's all he would talk about.
Yeah.
He would be listening to podcasts. He's like, I have to get the alpha on what's happening. He called it alpha, like the information.
Yeah.
And then he lost $100,000 in NFTs. And he had a lot of money, but still, and then he would complain that I took too many baths and that the water bill was high. And I was like, fuck you, dude. I just watched you buy a $30,000 JPEG of a black lady
I'm trying to
World of
relax.
Women
Yeah.
NFTs.
Yeah, you get jealous if he's buying women NFTs.
He was like, and then he's like, I bought you an NFT, and he bought me like a shitty, non-valuable one.
Oh my God. I mean, it's so funny to be to be like, that's your new addiction. Because when you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, there's a world in which, I'm not saying it's cool, but there's a world to lose $100,000 where at least there's some poetry. Like if you lose $100,000 gambling, a gambling addiction is terrible, but there's something about losing at a blackjack table. You can write about that later. Yeah. To lose $100,000 being like, oh man, the monkey wasn't worth as much as I thought. Oh no, the monkey wearing a hat isn't worth as much as I thought it was gonna be.
The Bored Apes tanked.
It's like,
what the fuck am I gonna do? The Bored Apes tanked.
At least shoot it in your arm. Do you know what I mean? At least shoot it.
And it was like, but it was an obsession. It was all he would talk about. He would be looking on, there's this website called OpenSea where it has all of the NFTs and you can see like their value.
Yeah.
He'd be on OpenSea every night before bed. It was either that or aliens. And it was like, only wanted to talk about aliens. Yeah. All of the time, 24/7.
Those two things kind of go. You know what? This is the kind of person. Bigfoot. This seems like the kind of person. Not that this was him, but there's an archetype of person I've been kind of looking into because I was in special ed growing up, and a lot of the people who were in special ed didn't necessarily have diagnosable learning disabilities. They just had other stuff going on in their lives that made them bad at school. Whether it be, which doesn't mean that they don't need treatment. It just means special ed wasn't necessarily the treatment they needed. Like if you have a fucked up home life, you're not going to be as good at homework, and they're going to put you in special ed because you're not performing well.
Right.
There's a kind of person who did bad at school, and they think it's because they were too smart for school. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a kind of person who couldn't do math, and they're like, yeah, it's because like I just always thought differently. And it's like, you work at a vape shop now.
Right.
And where was that intelligent? Like, where was it supposed to be?
Right.
And that's the kind, like, they're really into aliens. They love NFTs. They do like, they microdose acid because they think it makes them smarter and that they're not just like kind of a drug addict now. Yeah, that kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
was
brutal.
Wild.
No, it can be brutal when someone's like in the grips of like an addiction and you're there and you can't, because you're not gonna be able to just push them out. But it's so frustrating.
Not if it's an addiction. I had to be like, babe, do you think that maybe instead of spending all this money on NFTs, maybe we could like go on a trip, like have a memory? Because and it also started stressing me out because he's like, I want to get married. And I'm like, yeah, but like you're unstable financially with your like the decisions that you make. Like if you had a kid, would you be buying these Bored Apes?
Right. Wait, so you're telling me you didn't want to take your money and then combine it with his pictures of a goat fucking a fish? Yeah. You're telling me that wasn't a deal you could make?
That wasn't a deal I felt comfortable making.
Interesting. I think that's because you don't have what I call the $1 million mindset, okay? You didn't have forward vision. But yeah, it's really frustrating because do you have any sort of like addictive personality stuff at all?
I love shopping. Shopping's hard for me, but I've gotten better because I do this thing now where it's called Rent the Runway, where you pay like $120 a month and you like rent 10 pieces and then you send it back. Yeah. So it takes like the edge off, like of having to have something new.
Interesting.
So that's kind of that's one of my and coffee. And Red Bull. Oh,
yeah. But those are, if you're doing stuff that people in AA do, I think you're fine. You know what I mean? You're like already in recovery. That's good. It's fine. But with me, like I don't have a very addictive personality at all. And it's sometimes I had to like combat my frustration because I have friends that do, and you just want to be like, just stop. Like, you know it's bad.
They can't.
They can't. And it's a good learning. Like, a lot of people like me, like A-type, weirdo, like overly regimented type people. There's not a lot of self-awareness with a lot of them. But when you do start being self-aware, like when I started to be more self-aware about kind of like my nature and the way I was with people, I was like, oh, you just don't understand this about human nature. This is just something outside of your, and that's fine. And it's really freeing to just be like, oh, I just don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. And that's okay. Like, but I would try to figure it out. And I'd try to be like with my friends, you know, smoking too much or drinking too much or whatever. I'd be like, you know what to do. Why can't you just not do whatever? And they just don't do it.
Yeah.
But again, with smoking and drinking, there's something a little bit like, you know, kind of like, oh yeah, my friends, you can't really do that with crypto. It's tough. It's tough to make it cool.
Crypto, it was so not cool, and it was such a turnoff when we were like about to go to bed, and he was just on his phone looking at all the different pictures.
Yeah, I mentioned this before, but like I'm always shocked by my girlfriend's capability to, if not be interested, feign interest in the dumb shit that I show her constantly.
Yeah,
I'm showing her stuff about the UFC constantly.
Yeah, my boyfriend shows me a lot of UFC stuff too.
And it's like, how could you care? How could you care?
But it's like, I feel like he needs that.
Yes.
So I'm like,
and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Because if it's not an obsession, and it's like I would take hearing about UFC over hearing about NFTs.
Yeah.
Any fucking
He's
day.
not ruining his life.
He's not ruining his life.
Right, yeah. But like I'm always.
But doesn't it happen in reverse too? Like sometimes I tell my boyfriend stuff, and I'm like, I really don't think he cares about. Sometimes I'll tell him everything that happened during the day and the drama that's going on with the girls.
That's how it. Yeah,
and he's like, okay.
Isn't that so funny? Where but at least that's something about you. Like when you're talking to your boyfriend, like you can roll your eyes and be like, oh, this is trivial, who cares? But at least it's about you. Like guys have to be like, look at this monster truck. And then you have to learn about him through the monster trucks.
Dude.
That's how it is. Like with the UFC, when I'm telling my girlfriend about fighters, I'll be like, yeah, and this guy's like really cool because like, you know, he had a really bad relationship with his dad, but like that didn't stop him.
My boyfriend does that too. My boyfriend does that too. He goes, they say that this dude looks like a Stonehenge face.
Make the Orobai. Yeah.
Is that his name? He's like, but he's just owning it now, and it's so cool that he's just owning it.
Oh, Alex Pereira, actually. I'm sorry, that's Alex Pereira. Yeah. He's just totally owning it. He's not letting that like take away from himself. And he pushes forward. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's literally the conversations that we have. So same type of thing. That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and guys have the gall to be like, oh, my girlfriend talking about like work stuff. Anyway, look at this guy who looks like Stone. Isn't he cool?
And he owns it, man. He has merch with it.
He has merch with it now. Yeah, he didn't let people fucking bring him down.
Oh my God. Are you a monster truck guy? Do you go to the monster truck?
I do love that. There's something I really appreciate about them, though.
It's so funny because monster trucks were never a part of my life until I started dating my boyfriend.
And he's a big monster truck guy?
He also has little boys, and they're big monster truck people. So it's the amount of times I see monster trucks in 1 week and like Godzilla figurines.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is so funny that there is something inherent about like me as well when I was younger with like little like young boys where it's like they just want to destroy the world. So we give them these hobbies that are it's like, what about G.I. Joe? How about you pretend to kill a bunch of people just to kind of satiate them?
Yeah, like his 3-year-old goes, go in the bedroom. I'm going to put a monster under the bed, and then I'm going to come in with a gun, and I'm going to save you from the monster. And so I'm like in there, and I'm like, help, the monster. And he comes in. Funny. He's like, I got it. And then like runs out. It's so funny though. Yeah, no, it's so I've never seen more monster trucks in my life than in the last. Because I have a sister, so I didn't grow up with monster trucks.
Older or younger?
Younger.
Younger sister. Interesting. So were you like a protective older sister?
No, we used to fight all the time.
Oh yeah. Are we talking physical?
Yeah, sometimes physical. But she could beat the shit out of me.
Oh,
She's
really?
like smaller and more scrappy.
Feisty.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you two fight over?
Anything and everything.
Anything at all, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have siblings?
I have an older sister. We would fight pretty often.
About what?
Not so like it actually became this thing where we didn't talk a lot at certain portions in our lives just because when the parents got divorced, like I was going like back and forth and she was going back and forth, but we didn't cross paths as much as I think a lot of siblings did. But I remember this one time I completely fucked her over because there was this kid in the neighborhood, and I told him like, oh, I think like Kelsey might have a crush on you, like, which is I didn't understand. I might as well have told him like, oh, here's like her social security number, like just totally fucking her over socially. So she heard about that, and she broke into my room with a hairdryer, like swinging it like a mace, and just like whacked me with it. Yeah, it was really, it taught me to shut up. You know what I mean? That you learn from an older sister how to shut up, and I think that's great. Yeah. Because you can't really fight them, especially after a certain point. Yeah. So it's all verbal, and they're so much better than you at that. You just learn, I'm going to pick my battle here. Yeah. I'm going to not talk about this.
We had to have if my mom gave us a gift for Christmas, it would have to be the same exact gift in the same exact color.
Hilarious.
I couldn't have a pink one and she'd have a purple one. They both have to be pink. And then she would have to write our names in Sharpie on the whatever it was.
Oh, interesting. Oh, just to be like, this is yours, this is yours. No fighting about it. Yeah. When did that change?
I feel like she did that literally until like our 20s.
Last Christmas?
Yeah.
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 I never really had that problem, but like, you know, it's also funny. I always understood as a kid because she's a girl, she gets more and better stuff.
Really?
And I internalized that. I think not in an unpositive way. I think I was like, yeah, well, I don't really need a lot of shit. So like, whatever the fuck. Like, yeah. I think it was helpful for me in that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, wait. So how did you end up in special ed?
I was like deeply underperforming in school, and I was also really alienated. Like I would alienate myself from my classmates in these like really insane ways.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's hard for me to like bring back full memories. It's just these pretty funny fragments. Like I remember for a while, I pretended that I would tell kids in my class I was not friends with, hey, there's this like kid from another school who's going to come to the playground and he's going to play soccer with us, but he's like really good at soccer, but he's from a different school. And then I would, when like recess happened, I would pull my jacket up and put a hat on and just play soccer. And they were all like, in the moment, in the moment, I was like, damn, I'm tricking these kids. Like they think this other kid is here, when really they were like, oh, Dan needs medication. Like they knew that I needed like something to happen to me. Yeah. And like just deeply underperforming, alienated. They got me an IEP because like what really did it, thankfully, and I say thankfully because it's like I needed to be like for something to happen. My handwriting is just like so troubling, and my spelling has always been at a first grade level, still at a first grade level right now. So that's what like landed me in special ed, and then I kept it all the way through high school. So I was in like IEP classes all the way through. I was in regular classes too. But then I would have a block that would have been other kids' study block where I would go to like special ed, basically.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the way through high school.
Were you like the most advanced in special ed? Because you seem well adjusted.
That's very nice. You know, there was like different kinds of. It really was kind of like a prison yard in a way, where it's like there were kids who were just like so cool, for lack of a better word, that they were in special ed because they weren't doing homework and teachers just didn't understand it's because they were smoking weed or whatever. Yeah. And then there were kids who like had serious developmental disabilities. And then I was there kind of like in the middle. Yeah. But I you know what still to this day, and I'm gonna use his name because I guess it is in a positive light. I was never the hottest guy in special ed. There was this guy, David Romanowitz, 6'2", blonde, beefy, good looking.
Outshining you?
He had a stutter, which is a really sexy. If you're hot and you have a stutter, there's something that's like, oh, like I want to know what you're gonna say next. Do you know what I mean?
Time.
Take your time. Yeah.
Take your time.
I had a lateral lisp, which is S's come out as. So I'm just spitting on women, and they didn't start liking that until I was like 25, 26. Yeah. So it was just, I was always like, God damn it, I can't even have this.
That's so funny.
It was very funny. Shout out David Romanowitz, he's a good guy. But But yeah, that's what landed me there, and I always say this: I got extra time on the SATs. I got extra time on standardized testing, like in the school I went to. It was great.
The SATs fucked me up.
Yeah,
I think about them, and then did they get rid of them for a second?
I have no idea.
I was getting my hair done, and I ran into this woman who I used to babysit for, not the kooky one, a different one, and she said that her daughter didn't even have to submit SAT scores.
Really? I guess that's good.
Because
I think that's a good
many
thing.
colleges and universities dropped the SAT, ACT, and became test optional or test free.
I think that's good. I don't see how the SATs really determine like how smart you are, but there is that. You know how people were getting mad at the idea of dropping like student loan debt? Yeah. That's how I feel with that, where it's like, I fucking had to do it though.
Everyone should suffer.
Everybody needs to suffer, even if it makes no sense at all. That fucking pisses me off.
Oh, I hated those testing.
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
Yeah, I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to Bryant University, and then I transferred to UMass Amherst.
Okay.
Yeah, I ran track at Bryant University, and that went so poorly that I went to UMass Amherst, and it went poorly again, and then I got into stand-up. Yeah.
What was your major?
Communication.
Same.
Nothing. Bullshit.
Same.
Zero. Yeah.
Same.
And as soon as I started doing stand-up, I was like completely going through literally just doing it for my parents.
I did it for my parents too.
Just doing it for
and
the
I
parents.
have reoccurring nightmares that something happened and that
Me too.
you do that you didn't graduate.
Yeah, that I
and you
didn't
have to take
graduate and I
class.
have to go back. Yes.
All of the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's math.
I don't know where that comes from.
No, I don't know.
Probably because it was just so bad or shitty or whatever, but I have those all the time.
And they're like so vivid and so stressful.
Were you cool in college?
In college, yeah.
You had a good friend group.
Kind of. Well, like, see, in college, because I, at the time, was in my 20s and I was like going out in LA. And then I went to school in Orange County and it was like more conservative.
Sure.
And like everyone was like blonde, blue eyed, and like really rich.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of over it.
Yeah.
Like, and they were all in sororities and fraternities.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had just gotten out of an all girls school. So the last thing I wanted to do was hang out with like all
Lord.
women.
Yeah.
So I didn't really, like, I'd go to parties here and there, but I would, like, go out to clubs in LA with a fake ID.
No shit.
Yeah.
This is good. You know, people, and not to put words in your mouth, but people rarely admit to being popular in comedy. Like in comedy, I feel like there's this big, and I understand why I think it's a good thing, because there's this thing of like, oh, well, this is sort of like a fraternity of losers.
Yes.
That changed not too long ago. And I think it's good to allow for a broad spectrum of experience and to stand up. But too many people want to be cool in stand up, I feel, these days. There's a lot of people who want to be like, I got cool sneakers. And it's let's relax a little bit on that.
Just feel like intellectual and funny.
You could be whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it's like, when I do appreciate it, because I think there's this thing where everybody has to like, I was an outcast. And it's like, listen, if you're in stand up, something's already wrong with you. We don't have to add to this. It's great if there's other stuff going on, but it's enough that you're choosing to do this.
Yeah, like I got along with everyone, but I never felt like super connected to any one group. So there was kind of like I could see how each group had their own thing, and I could have lunch with any of them and get along with them, but I couldn't really commit to being in one group.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And then in middle school, I was not cool. And that's what shaped me. Being not cool in middle school will fuck you up, dude.
It's tough.
Yeah. I like wore my retainers to school. And like I brought a chia pet to my seventh grade teacher. And I was like, can this be the class pet? And she was like, yes. And I was like, cool.
Wait, what grade was this?
7th.
Too old, huh?
Too old.
Too old for that, huh?
Too old for bringing a chia pet in.
That's great.
Yeah, just weird.
Yeah. That's odd.
And like my friend, like I was at the age where my friends were like making out with guys. Like,
sure.
And I was like, that's not happening.
Yeah, you're like, but so what were some of the things you were into in 7th grade? What, like, I want to get a picture, not to pigeonhole you, but like what, was there a goth? Was there a, like, where are we?
No, it was like kind of nerdy trying to figure out what I was into. Like I really liked doing theater stuff.
Great. Yeah.
I would wear my retainers to school. I would do this thing for too long where I had a lot of Beanie Babies and I would operate on them. I call it Beanie Baby Hospital.
Wait, at what age are we?
Like 7th grade. 7th grade. Like, I like have my period and I'm doing Beanie Baby Hospital.
You're telling me guys weren't making out with you.
I was like typing up a report about what was wrong with each of the animals.
Do you see that girl giving a circumcision to a rhino over there? I think I'm in love with her. Do you see that girl giving a fucking duck a double mastectomy right now? I think she's the one for me, dude.
I like type up little reports. I'd like bandage up, and I would only do it of the Beanie Babies I had doubles of because the others were very valuable in my mind, and they were going to be assets later on.
Oh, that's what those were your NFTs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were my NFTs. Fool me once, you can't get me again with those NFTs, dude. So yeah, no, that's what I was into, and then I remember like the first time I started to really kind of want to be cool was when. It was like when Mandy Moore had that song Candy. I was in 8th grade.
I Want Candy? That one?
No, it was like...
Candy Girl? How's it go?
No, it's... I don't even know how it goes, but all the popular girls...
I think I probably have to cut it for the pod, but just for reference right here.
Can we pause this real quick? How old is she in this?
I don't know, but she was like an icon, and everyone in like 7th and 8th grade... they were obsessed with her, and they all started kind of dressing like her, and like the popular girls did this song at the talent show.
There's something so deeply profane about this to me because it's like it's mimicking as something like mainstream. I just watched a John Waters movie. This is more offensive to me than a John Waters movie. There's something more deeply offensive to this.
And like 7th and 8th grade girls are like, she's so cool. Okay, so yeah, that's what the hot popular girls performed together, and they all had matching dance moves, and they all had like crop tops. Yeah, that's what they did at the talent show. I sang the 1950s song "Going to the Chapel." Do you know that?
Interesting.
In a wedding dress.
Going to the chapel in a wedding dress. What?
With all my friends also in wedding dresses. So we were like on a different
the
chapel and we're different.
You found some people on your wavelength though. That's good. I like that. That's good.
I had like my 2 friends that were on my wavelength and then nobody else.
Yeah, but hey, that's all you need. You need a little crew of freaks.
A little crew of freaks. But I used to tie my shoes. Like my friend Bailey and I, we would tie our shoelaces together and try to walk around.
Oh, that's really sweet.
In recess.
That's great. Oh, that's
a little
really
bit of
funny.
Team building exercises at recess.
In a wedding dress.
In a wedding dress.
And your parents got you the wedding dress? Good Lord.
We all had one.
Yeah, they must have been like, well, this is wholesome enough.
This is wholesome. Get her the fucking wedding.
This isn't a Mandy Moore thing, which is so funny because that's, to me, like that's a little bit freakier than a Mandy Moore thing. You know what I'm saying?
The
like,
wedding?
Yeah. Like that's still bad, but like a 7th grader wanting to get married is real. That's so troubling to me because that's what the Mormons are looking for. You know what I'm saying? I would anytime we drove by a church, I'd like put a fucking bag over your head and be like, don't even think about it. Those guys are looking.
That's so funny. Yeah. How did you meet your girlfriend?
Poker game.
Whoa.
Met her at a poker game.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Met her at a poker game.
Where?
Just at a random person's house. I love playing poker, and I look for home games in Los Angeles, and there was like my friend just kind of cued me in, hey, there's this home game, let's go. And then she was at the home game, and I thought she was very pretty, and I didn't say a fucking word to her because I'm stupid. We talked at the end of the game, but I was just whatever.
Yeah.
I thought and then I won the most money that game.
Oh,
so she was looking at me like, this guy, he's balling out. He has $61.
Yeah.
He's gonna so we talked a little bit. And then it's actually kind of a funny story. So she doesn't have social media. And I realized from this experience, like, wow, my brain was really negatively warped by social media socially because I was like, oh, I'm not going to really talk to her here, but I'll DM her. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drop into those DMs.
Yeah.
She's going to see how many followers I have. It's sick shit. But that's what was going through my mind. If I'm being honest, I was like, well, she can finally see. And then and I asked her friend, like, oh, like, what's her social media? And she was like, oh, she doesn't have any. And I didn't talk to her enough to really get her number. But I was doing shows in Vegas, and her friends were going to Vegas at the same time. So it was like perfect. So I went, talked to her for longer, still too cowardly to get her number. And I was like, damn, my dad's generation, the fact that they were able to, like, that really did take more courage than what we do.
Yeah.
That's one thing where I'll say, like, there's a lot of shit where it's like, oh, the older generation worked harder or whatever. When it came to, like, hooking up or whatever, they did have...
They had to suffer a little more.
They had to suffer a little bit more. And maybe because it was a little bit more normal back then, they could get through. But yeah, so like I was still too scared to ask her number. So I'm driving away from they were at an Airbnb in Vegas, and it's like we were in the pool together. We were like throwing a ball back and forth.
You're throwing a ball back and
throwing
forth.
a ball back and forth in the pool, and I was still like,
That's married. That's basically you're married.
We're basically married already.
You're playing sporting activities.
But I was just like, I'm too scared. Like, just total coward. And as I'm driving away, I just text her friend like, can you give me your number, please? And her friend was like, let me ask her. Yeah. And she asked her, and then I did get her number from there. But it really opened my eyes to like, since then, I don't have Instagram on my regular phone. I got a second phone where I do all my social media stuff. I don't walk around with social media in my pocket anymore because it just made me realize like, oh, this is hurting me socially. You know what it's done is like when I like meet somebody and you know, in comedy and we have like whatever, they run a show and the dude's like, oh yeah, we'll get you on a show. I'll be like, oh, I don't really do social media. Can I have your number? And that is so much better than just this vague like, oh yeah, follow me on Instagram and like maybe I'll reply to your story or some shit and be like, oh, I'd love to be on this show. It's like, no, fucking have the number or don't have the number. What are we doing here? Wait,
but that's awesome that she's not on it.
No, not on it, not interested in it.
Doesn't want to get on it.
No, I don't know. I mean,
it's like a blessing.
Yeah, it is. No, I mean, it's like a great mindset. And like I said, it made me want to like not have it on my phone. So it's kind of just for work now, which is great.
Yeah, because it's a lot.
It's a lot. And also, like, I realized what's bad about it isn't necessarily even the negative. Like, obviously, like, getting a negative comment and having it, like, fuck with you is bad. But it's the positive that's bad. It's when something's doing really good and you're, like, checking it all the time and you're like, everybody's got... And it's like, and then you put your phone down and you're like, oh, I'm just in a room by myself. Like, this isn't good.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes this thing that you just start obsessively checking.
Obsessively.
And then I'm like, fuck you, Mark, from wherever. I block people left and right.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many troubled people that if you want to just go down the hole of like finding people who are commenting weird, you're just going to find it forever.
Oh, yeah.
You're never going to find an end.
It's nonstop.
It's an endless supply of that. So
of psychos.
It's better to just kind of be like, that's something I do when I'm doing it, and then I'm done when I'm...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm addicted to it because the thought of not having it on my phone just gave me a little bit of anxiety.
This is something that I think is like, especially for people who aren't necessarily like in entertainment or whatever, and they feel like they're on their phones too much. The reason I wouldn't go on my phone is or I wouldn't get rid of Instagram. I was like, what if I get an important message and I need to respond? I've been off of Instagram like on my regular phone for maybe a year. I don't look at my phone until I get my writing done in the morning. I've done that for 2.5 years. 2.5 years. I don't look at my phone until I'm done writing.
So do you write every morning?
Every morning, yeah. I write like longer stuff.
Like, have you ever done the artist way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like that?
Yes, very much like that. Yeah, I don't do it exactly, but like I've read that and I like the message of it.
So are you writing jokes or are you just writing to write? And then within that, there are jokes.
I'm almost reluctant to say exactly what I do because I don't want anyone to hear it and be like, oh, I'm going to do that. Because I've done that with people's thing. Yeah. You just have to come up with your own thing. Yeah. But I have like a little method where I do like chunks of, I do this kind of writing and then this kind of writing and then this kind of writing. And then I'm done. Yeah. So like sometimes I'll do for time, sometimes I'll do for word count. But
every time I sit down to be like, I'm going to write a joke. I can't, I don't. But then like in the middle of the night, I'll wake up from a dead sleep and be like, I better text myself this idea that I just had at 3 a.m.
It's rarely jokes. So like I'll sit down and like, it depends what comes up. I think you need to give yourself a little freedom too, because there's these people in creative spaces where it's like, you might as well just work at a fucking like, at an office because of the way you approach this. There's no like spontaneity to it.
Right.
It's so regimented that it's like ridiculous now.
Right.
But sometimes I'll just sit down and I'll write something that happened the day before, and I'll just write out just put the thoughts on the page and shit. And then sometimes like it'll be jokes or whatever. But it's just the act of like doing that. I think the reason why there's so many people in stand-up who are crazy is because it's hard to latch yourself to the work that you've done. It's hard to be like, oh, well, like you'll put out a special or whatever, maybe like if you're prolific every 2 years.
Right.
Or, you put out a clip here and there, but that doesn't really do it for you like creatively.
Right.
But what writing does is it makes me go like, I did something today. When I start having a mental breakdown in the afternoon and I'm like, I'm going to fucking kill myself, I wrote today. So
yeah,
there's
you have
something.
like a sense of accomplishment. It's like going to the gym.
It's like going to the gym. It's like there's something here that proves that I exist. You know what I mean? And my worry in doing that when I started it, it seems so ridiculous to me now, but I was like, well, I have to check my phone immediately when I wake up because what if something happened? What if there was an emergency? What if blah, blah, blah? Has never, 2.5 years, every day, never happened. You never really, because it's like, oh, what if I woke up at 10 today?
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? Yeah.
Right. So you don't even check it until afterwards?
Don't check it until after.
Do you do it for a set amount of time, like 30 minutes?
It generally lasts like 45 minutes. But yeah, which is like again, it's like insane that's hard. But it's hard for me to do.
Well, it's hard when you have distractions.
Yeah, and it makes you feel so good when you look at your phone and there's all those text messages.
Sometimes it makes you feel bad too.
Yeah, sometimes it makes
when you see other people and you're like, "What the fuck? They're where? Doing what?"
Right, but sometimes you like feeling bad. Yeah,
it
does something to your brain.
It drives you. Yeah, I gotta try harder. This person's opening for so and so here. What the fuck?
That one's brutal. Yeah.
When you're like, how is that possible?
Or just like a comic just shows a comic that you like shows feign interest in a comic you don't like, and you're like,
I didn't know they were friends.
I wanted that validation. Yeah. And it's all bullshit. And
it's all so
completely
crazy.
Unhealthy. Yeah.
What did you run in track?
I ran mostly the 400 meter.
Oh damn.
Yeah. I wasn't like spectacular at it, but
I had a really mean track coach, and I only did track because I went to an all-girls school, and the track was at the all-boys school. So I was like,
really?
Yeah, I was like, I'm doing track.
Yeah,
and
you're
I would
on
go
the
in like
runway
full
there,
makeup.
huh?
I would go like in full makeup. I did not give a fuck about running at all.
You're just because you're running like this the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, and our coach was like this really mean lesbian lady that was Irish.
Yeah.
And if we ate, like I remember I finished running and I was eating a Snickers bar, and she's like, you just threw away your entire workout.
Completely untrue, by the way.
I was like, by the way, I'm 17 years old. If I want to have a Snicker bar right now,
but also like you need a bunch of sugar after you like do a hard track workout.
Yeah, she's
so
crazy.
That's insane.
And then she made me do the 800.
That's a brutal race. I've run that
before. It's like you run around, 8 times around the fucking track?
It's twice, but
it's only twice?
Yeah,
you have to do it kind of. Oh yeah, because 400 is one time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those two I hated.
You didn't have enough sugar in your blood, so you forgot about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she made me do the 800 and the 400, and then one time she made me run the 2 mile.
Yeah, she hated you.
Nobody cares about that. It's the least exciting thing to watch.
That was her way of punishing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck you. I don't remember her name, damn it.
Yeah, hey, you know what? No one else does either.
Yeah,
all right?
That's true.
Nobody else does either.
Well, that's our podcast.
Great, that was fun.
Yeah, so much
Flew
fun.
by.
Where can people find you? Do you have anything you want to promote?
Yeah, Not Bad Dan on Instagram, and I have, I can't really say it now, but just Not Bad Dan on Instagram, and I'll post about something soon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for listening to another episode of Shank. You can find me here every Wednesday on Shank and every Monday on This Bitch. And then my show dates at Princess Shank on Instagram. I'm coming to Canada with Kim Congdon in April.
Come on.
And I will be in Texas most likely in January, so look out for that as well. And patreon.com/Sara Weinshenk. I'm trying to do some like ad-free vlog/podcasts on there. So if you want that, hit the Patreon. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.